Today's guests are Chris UnSoled. He is an OG skateboarder and an OG sneakerhead who's been in the game of sneakers and skateboarding for 40 years approximately.
Yep.
And our other guest is Kingsley DeVille. He is a new generation sneakerhead who's going to bring a younger, new generation style. How you doing, guys?
Doing great, man. Thanks to have me. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, this is cool, man.
Yes,
Talking about some sneakers, and
Absolutely.
a lot of people are into it.
Absolutely.
So what is a sneakerhead, Chris?
Well, my take is just someone who loves footwear, period. It's mainly sneakers, right? But, the first story is women and their shoe closets, period. People talk, these women have so many shoes, blah, blah, blah. My father had a lot of shoes. I don't remember my mother having a lot of shoes. But when I, started to make my own money and purchase things, he would always say, well, how many pair can you wear at a time? And I go, just one. But I want to have options, period. And it always seemed like I dressed from the feet up. The shoes that I wore, I'm going to match my outfit to it. And that's how it went. And that's how it always was.
Well, that's how it was for our generation.
Sure.
Growing up in the late 80s, early 90s,
Mm-hmm.
I remember I never had Nikes
Right.
when I was a kid. I remember one time my uncle had a pair of Air Flights,
Mm-hmm.
and I was probably like 11 years old, 12 years old. And I was going to school with lots of Puerto Rican and black kids and other kids from the city. And even all the white kids, they all had, it was like the style.
Right.
And here I was showing up, and I didn't have none of that. But here I am going to school. I snuck his Air Flights out. I'm like, I'm wearing those to school. And they were like, they were probably like, it had to be 2 inches bigger than my foot. And I thought I was so cool. I was getting compliments. Some of the kids noticed. They were like, those shoes are too big for you.
Yeah.
But I was so happy. Just having those shoes and being cool, right? It's that feeling, right? It's that culture.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. With me, I grew up in the heart of Baltimore City, and I was influenced by my neighborhood. I had two older brothers at the time as well. One's passed away, God rest his soul, but I was influenced by them. I was influenced by the neighborhood. I was influenced a little bit by sports. I was a real skinny little young kid. So my brothers played football. I couldn't play football. I'd get folded like a taco. You know what I mean? I didn't have any strength. I was probably 70 pounds and 4 foot tall. But I remember I had a neighbor. Now, we just had these little concrete postage stamp backyards is all we had. And a neighbor 2 doors down, 3 doors down, had a mini ramp. He had a little skateboard ramp in his backyard. It was about 4 foot tall. There was quite a few
quarter pipe.
Well, it was a half pipe, so they were going back and forth.
Pipe.
Yeah. And I don't know if the dimensions were right or anything like that. I remember I wanted to skate it, and they wouldn't let me. They were like, "You're too young. You're too small. You don't know what you're doing." They built me a little bank ramp, piece of plywood, nailed into a 2x4. And they said, if you can learn to go up and just do a turn on that, then we'll take it from there. And I don't remember exactly what happened around that period of time, but another neighbor had given me a skateboard that was about 4 inches wide. It was blue fiberglass. And all I knew how to do, there was a real small hill right next to my parents' house. I would lay on that thing like it was a surfboard. It was maybe 2 foot long, but my chest and my sternum, fit on it. And I would paddle down this sidewalk, and then I would get up and I would just do it until I had to go home. And then I would have fiberglass all in my arms.
I remember those. They had like roller skate wheels on them.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Exposed bearings. If one of the bearings fell out of one of the wheels, like, you were in trouble. Like, you were going to get jacked up. That was going to hurt. But that was really before I ever had any injuries, so I wasn't thinking about the fear or what can happen to my body, at that time. But I would do that, and then, like I said, my arm would swell up because I would have fiberglass in my arm, and my father, he just couldn't stop me from riding that board. And was I riding it, or was I just like surfing, like sidewalk surfing, right? I don't know, but I loved it from the start. Moving forward in life is what skateboarding showed me I was able to do. I didn't really skate backwards at that time. And it was all I kind of loved everything with wheels. I loved roller skating. I loved skateboarding. I loved riding bikes, BMX bikes or mountain bikes, when mountain bikes kind of got popular, late 80s, early 90s. Yeah, it was just always a good time. Now, when I really got into skateboarding, I was 13 years old. I had compound fractured my pinky, this one here that I can't bend out forward. I fell roller skating one night. Someone tried to jump over me, landed on it, compound fracture, emergency surgery. I was 12, 13 years old. When I woke up in the recovery room after that, my father was like, man, you're a champ. You went through that, no questions. I didn't know what the hell to expect, right? First surgery in life, young kid, 7th grade, 8th grade. I had a friend that had a current brand skateboard, and he was selling it for $25. And it had these bearings. These bearings were kind of top of the line at the time, called NMDs. And I was like, Dad, you got to buy me this thing. It's only $25, and it's got NMD bearings. Those are their best bearings. And he did, and everything else is somewhat history.
And that's when you started getting into skateboarding.
Yeah. I had a really good friend. We're still friends today. We talk often on social media. He was the first person that I actually saw do a trick on the skateboard, and I was blown away. Because even the guys in the backyard, at the ramp next door, I don't remember them doing much. I remember one guy trying to launch out and just go into the alley, and I don't know if he was ever successful or not, but it was impressive. And I'd never seen anyone do any kind of stuff like that. So that's where I was like, I want to do that too. But they wouldn't let me.
Yeah, everybody has a similar story.
Yeah.
When I moved to California when I was 13, that was 1989.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing. I knew some kids who these were like semi-pro kids. They had a half pipe in their backyard, big half pipe.
Yeah.
And probably had, I don't remember what the spread was. It had to be like 30 foot across or something. It was something. It was big.
Oh, that's cool.
For us kids, I thought that was big.
Yeah.
And getting into that culture, and then the whole culture of the late 80s or early 90s with hip hop.
Yeah.
Skateboarding,
absolutely,
BMX bikes, and then to the SneakerHeads. In the not just the sneakers, but the clothes.
Yeah.
Vans.
Totally.
All that.
Absolutely.
All those brands, and just kind of added to that culture.
Mm-hmm.
You were telling me a story about Vans and how that started. What? I remember. I forgot what you told me.
So,
how it got popular. I mean.
Yeah. The movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah.
Jeff Spicoli, the stoner character. Not somebody my parents would ever let me hang out with. Just from the movie, and his character thought he was the coolest dude. Period. And he really promoted Vans. I don't know the correlation if Vans set that up, specifically for the promotion purpose. But right after that movie came out, after the first time I saw that, I had to have a pair of Vans. And funny story, my parents were blue collar, and if I wanted something, they would do their best to get me what that was within a reasonable price, right? And there was a chain of shoe stores. I want to say it was called Payless Shoe Store, and they had a bootleg version of checkerboard Vans that, instead of them being checkerboard, they were octagon shaped, black and white, all over the shoe. In the outsole, I remember it was a gum bottom. It looked just like a Van shoe, but it wasn't a Van shoe. And my mother got them for me, and I had to wear them. And I was embarrassed by that because they weren't the authentics.
Because everybody knew.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, those aren't real.
And probably at the time, you know, I would drag my feet. I would try to wear the shoe out as quickly as I could so that I didn't have to wear them. Hey, I need new shoes, you know.
Let's try to upgrade this time.
Exactly. And I think it was that Christmas. I actually got it's a Vans Era, you know, just a very classic, you know, it's got the 3 eyelet lace up. It was an all checkerboard pair. And I still have a pair of those to remind me of that time in my life. Now, just like with these, as we're talking about them, these were the original box. Sorry, it's kind of ripped. That's how I bought it. But these were the original box that Vans came in, you know, just like this with all the print all over it. And at the time, I had a friend that worked at a Vans store, and he was like, bro, I got friends and family deal, man. You get 50% off anything you want, any given time. And I was like, what? And they had the Fast Times at Ridgemount High.
That's so cool.
Now, I never even realized until about a year after I bought them. They're an 8.5. I wear 9. These things wouldn't even fit me if I wanted to wear them.
It still has the tag on, huh?
Yeah, literally.
Like they're still dead stock and brand new.
Yeah. You know, the Anaheim factory collection. I mean, that was their first factory. That's where they did everything. Like they emulated that shoe to a T. You know, and I just had to have it, man, and I can't let it go. I can't wear it, but you know, it's part of my history.
Yeah, I almost bought the Stranger Things ones that came out recently.
Oh, okay.
I kind of like those.
Yeah.
I thought they were cool, but then they stopped selling them, and I was like,
Right.
You can buy them. They're sold on other sites like StockX has them and stuff like that.
Sure.
But yeah.
No, it's cool, man. Like, you know, that's a early childhood memory.
Yeah, those were cool. When did you pick those up?
Probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw them. I think I saw them online first, and then I went into a Vans store, and there they were. You know, and I had the discount, so I couldn't say no. But again, it's super funny because it's an 8.5. It won't fit me. I'm a true 9.
But back to the culture of these. So it's not even they don't fit you or they were on sale or you had a discount.
Sure.
It's more the feeling of the culture.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that was also kind of the first movie that had a little bit of skateboarding in it. And they had boards that were similar to the little blue fiberglass board that I had. You know, and my brothers had skateboards that were plastic, banana boards, if you will. I remember one of them getting a brand new board for Christmas. The board got away from him. A car ran it over. You know, he comes home and it's gone. You know, it's broken in half. Yeah. And you know, back then there were no warranties or anything like that. Like you'd buy them at toy stores, and then gradually, I bought my first skateboard. Well, the first one that my father bought was kind of a hand-me-down from a neighbor kid. The blue fiberglass was given to me as a hand-me-down from another neighbor guy. He was older. He was, 15 years older than me, I think. And, then you started hearing about like Sim skateboards and Alva and things like that. And some of the guys in the neighborhood had them. And I didn't see them really doing tricks, but I saw them riding their boards to the park to play football. And again, I'm a little ass, I'm 70 pounds, 4 foot. I can't play football with them. Hey, man, can I ride your skateboard right here? Oh, yeah, dude, just be careful. Well, guess what? I get a $200 board under my feet. The board gets away from me, gets ran over.
Oh, man.
And then he's like, dude, you got to pay for that. I'm like, I don't have any money.
$200 out of pocket?
Well, my father covered the cost on it, but
and back then a good board with trucks and everything was $200.
Yeah, literally.
Like today you can pick up a good board full board for $100.
Exactly.
It was like, but you would think they would have been less expensive 30 years ago.
Right.
They were super expensive. Like for a kid to get a $200 board,
Yeah.
was really hard.
Yeah, because
If you weren't a rich kid.
they were not easy to get.
Yeah.
You know, and long before the internet, long before thinking, you know, I wasn't a kid thinking about, oh, I'm going to call the hobby shop, because I didn't know what they even asked for. You know what I mean? But I had another friend in the neighborhood that him and his father opened a little skateboard shop in their basement. And literally you would walk up to the sidewalk, knock on the window, and they would open up, and then they would show you everything that they had. And that was where I got my very first brand new board. I don't remember the year, but it was a Santa Cruz Rob Roscott board, and it was just a board. It was bright green, you know, kind of a neon green. It had, you know, his logo on the bottom, and that was a game changer for me. Man, I got a brand new skateboard. I fit in with the kids now. You know what I mean? And we didn't know what we were doing. We were just riding around. One friend does a trick. Holy shit, how do you do that? You know, I want to learn that. And then before magazines, before I even touched a skateboard magazine, the little handicap bump, you know, at the end of the block, I was doing grabs off of that into the street. You know, like 2 inches, right? Because, again, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know anything about style or, you know, whatever. But I'm going to back up a little bit. Before I really got into skateboarding, I used to break dance as well. And
What? I didn't know that.
yeah, man. Yeah.
I used to try.
I mean, I could do some groundwork. I wasn't really a popper or a locker or anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
You know, because people had their own
Yeah.
abilities, and that's what they were kind of labeled as,
Yeah,
right? But I would do some floor work. I could do a little bit of windmills and head spins and that sort of thing. But at roller skating, when we would go roller skating Fridays, sometimes Saturday nights, they would have a dance time, and they would shut the rink down, and we would all go to the center, and we started having little battles. You know, there was guys that lived
And this was in Baltimore?
Yeah. There was guys that lived in Baltimore County, and they had their little crew, and we had our little crew in Baltimore City, right? And we're wearing the nylon sweatsuits, you know, the matching suits. The bigger brands were, I think I had one. Like, I only had one. Some other people had a couple different, you know, choices when it came to that. But I had a Puma one.
Adidas, probably.
Yeah, Adidas made them, you know, obviously. And, yeah, again, around that time, Nike was a running shoe company. So nobody really paid attention to what they were doing. But I was 10 years old. My parents never drove in Baltimore City, so we took the bus everywhere, or we had a friend that gave us a ride. So we're going back to school shopping. And my father was a stickler, man. You can't put anything on your feet, or you can't wear a shirt, you can't wear the pants. And they weren't the best of the best, you know what I mean? Again, blue-collar family. They did okay. We never went without.
We used to get our clothes from a thrift store
Yeah.
when we were kids.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, within that, at the time in my life, if you were seen walking out of a thrift store, you got made fun of in the neighborhood.
Sure.
And now it's like the coolest shit because of all the vintage stuff, and, you know, people resell all that jazz. You know, I don't pay attention to that. I know it exists, but I don't really pay much attention to it. So we're in Baltimore County, and we have a friend of my mom's. She's got a 57 Chevy. I remember that. And we pull back up to her house, and my father says, "Hey, do you want to wear your back to school shoes right now? Don't mess them up." And I was like, "Man, I don't know, dude." Like, I didn't call him dude, but
That's what you're thinking.
yeah. I'm like, "I don't know, man. Like, I really want to climb this tree, you know?" So that ties into another shoe that I brought. And this shoe came out originally in 1968. Now, it was a Puma Clyde, And this is just a Puma suede, but, you know, it's very, very similar. Minor details and difference, you know, between the Clyde and the suede. But this was the shoe that I got for that back-to-school day, and I did climb a tree, and I did get tree sap all over the toe of them, and I was bummed because I didn't know anything about how to clean anything, you know, at that time of my life. Now, when they originally came out, they didn't have a suede stripe. You know, I don't even know what you call this on the Puma, but I just call it a stripe. They were vinyl, like a really cheap leather, but it was the same exact color except it was gray. And so a few years back, I grabbed these as just another kind of pivotal moment in my life for sneaker history. You know, and I wrote a story on my Instagram about these shoes and just how important it was. You know, but Pumas came from the breakdancing influence, just like Adidas Superstars, you know, shell toe Adidas. Those were also big. Wide laces. You know, Pumas, I mean, these even come with the fat lace because that's how you wore them, you know, back then. It was that early hip hop, B-boy, you know, style. There were groups that we were listening to, the Fat Boys, Curtis Blow, obviously Run DMC, you know, they put Adidas on.
LL Cool J, he would rock the Pumas, I think.
LL Cool J, he wound up getting a sponsorship with a brand called Troop. And I had a pair of Troops about 10 years ago. I never wore them. They were white boot, kind of emulated a Timberland style. They had a little bit of a heel and a little bit of a gap, you know, in the sole. But I couldn't wear them. I just bought them because I knew you couldn't find them, you know, kind of thing. But yeah, this was a really important shoe to me. And same with the Fast Times, you know, the Vans. So
the checkerboard, right?
Yeah, literally. So, I mean, this stuff is just deep for me. You know, it goes back. There were pairs that I had in the neighborhood that, again, it was influenced by the older kids. Jack Purcell's, which were, you know, Converse brand. I don't know if they actually owned them at the time, but they had the little smiley face, the rubber toe. They were canvas upper. They had about 6 or 7 eyelets on them. And I remember I had kind of a mustard yellow pair. And I'd wear them to the park. I remember going to the park. And there was a little pond in the middle of the park. And my brothers went in, and I just went in. And these things were covered in mud, dude. And my dad was so pissed at me. Because then at that point, you got to wash them under the sink and put them outside for them to dry. You know, but I didn't want to not have fun, but I wanted to look cool while I was doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, I had plenty of shell toe Adidas, which I still have a couple pair now. They're skateboarding Adidas shoes that they've crossed over to make. But they used to make an Adidas shell toe that was a mid-top with a Velcro strap. And I really wish that Adidas would bring that shoe back. That shoe was so dope to me. So yeah. What?
So these new guys,
Yeah.
Hello.
this new generation. What? Can you hear us?
It took a minute. It's like it went off and then it came back on.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you're not falling asleep over there, Kingsley, are you?
No. I'm awake.
So, like with our generation, because I'm almost as old as Chris is, you know, these older style shoes, but those aren't really the shoes that the new sneakerheads are really messing with, huh?
Not like not. Is this on?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So like, not at all. Like when he's like showing these shoes off, I'm like, these are like some older shoes that like they have no hype to them. Those are specifically meaningful to him, and that's what I think is very cool. Like it tells it all about him. Shoes that I would wear and everything were Chucks, always red, black, or white, because I just always wear those colors. It's always red, black, or white. But I always had Chucks, Timberlands, because I always liked that New York style, even though from Colorado and everything, I just always liked it. But the first shoe that like really grabbed my attention was during the 2012-2014 swag era, wherein pictures, you would focus on red. You would edit your photos with Mickey Mouse hands. You would replace your head with the lion head, ape head, all kinds of stuff. And it's like the 2012 swag era. And the shoe that comes with that is this shoe right here. It's the first one that put me on, basically.
That made you be interested in sneakers and the culture.
Yeah, this would be the first one that I bought and everything. Like, not this shoe specifically. The first one is called a Carmine. This is the 2021 release, and to me, it was just so cool. All the white, all the red on it. And so the first one I bought, I did pay resale because I didn't know nothing about the shoe game at all. I paid $300 flat for it over at Vices. Do you remember Vices?
Yeah.
And so I didn't know anything. I was like, I just want it. I didn't care what the price was. I just really wanted it because it was the first one that I really liked and loved. And so $300 was a lot. I didn't end up keeping it. I ended up selling it to my cousin for $320. Made a little $20, you know. But I was like, that's a lot of money. I was like, I still, at that point, I was making my own money, and I was like, I don't know if I could afford to put $300 on my feet. Like, I feel like I haven't earned it. I wasn't grateful enough for it, or that I just didn't deserve it. So I sold it to him, and so then I've had 3 pairs of these pass through my hands so far, and this is probably the 3rd pair. Paid like $175. I actually got it from Culture Street. Yeah, he did a decent deal of $175. Hey, if you do cash, not card, hey, flat $175, no tax.
No tax.
So yeah, that was pretty cool, and that's just why I love this shoe so much. It was the first one that really put me on with Jordan. It's a Retro 6, which Retro 6 it's my favorite because of how it looks. Retro 7s are all right, but I just call it like a copycat of the Retro 6 just a little bit. So, yeah.
So did you start off liking Nikes then mostly?
Yeah, probably, because Nike was just always the number one brand for, like, in school. You can't argue with Nike. Like, people can make fun of Under Armour. Adidas was a little iffy until Kanye got in with it. Then, like, before Kanye got in with it, it was just anything Nike you couldn't argue. If you played football, if you played basketball, if you did track, if you did weightlifting and that stuff, you would just always be decked out in Nike. It doesn't matter if it was cheap or expensive Nike. Nike was just Nike. So yeah, that's how like I just always went Nike no matter what.
Yeah, that's the way I see the newer sneakerheads. I see a lot. They're really, really focused on Nikes. Whereas me, I like a lot of different shoes.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, man. So you've been in the game for how long now?
I would say
like actually reselling and doing that.
So it took me 2 years to understand it. That's and I was messing up during the first year and a half and still making some bad deals to this day. It took me 2 years to fully understand it to work for me, but this would probably be my 3rd year going on. And I could say like going on like good with it because I haven't worked a real job since January of this year. Like some people will try to work an hourly job like to pay your bills, to do this, to do that, to go out on trips, to buy more inventory, to sell. Like I haven't worked a job since January and just been doing it from there till now we're in October. That's a good 9 months, 10 months. And my bills are paid. I live on my own, you know, being my own man and everything. And my bills are being paid, and I'm happy. I'm not going to a job that I'm sad. I hate it. I'm here locked up here for 8 hours at a job. I'm out waking up every single day. What am I going to do today? Well, what's dropping today? What's going on today? Just watching Instagram, watching the sneaker game. And that's how my day will go, is just by following the passion of what I like.
Yeah, you have your own business.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're your own boss.
Yeah, and it feels good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get 100% of the profits.
Chris, when's the last time you worked for somebody?
Because
you've been selling sneakers, reselling sneakers for a long time.
Yeah.
And you've lived off that.
Yeah. You know, I went to barber school in 2010.
Keep that mic up close to the face.
I went to barber school in 2010, but I wasn't very studious, so I didn't get my license until 2015.
5 years?
Yeah, man.
5 years, damn.
You got to
Is
be
that
good at
usually
cutting
like a 6-month course?
Yeah, it's a
6 to a year,
It's a
huh?
6-month course.
to 5 years.
I graduated. I moved out of state for a little while. I did a bunch of different things. I was just trying to make ends meet. And then I went back, took a refresher course, put my head in the books, and went and took my practical exam and then my written exam. And I started on a path of being a licensed barber.
Do you do that now?
I don't.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't. I've got carpal tunnel in both of my hands. I've had 3 surgeries.
Yeah.
In fact, Friday I just had a cortisone shot in my thumb
Yeah.
because I have trigger thumb somehow or another. My hands are really bad.
So you've lived off of selling sneakers for the most part.
Yeah.
For 30, 40 years?
Well, when I really got into it was right around the time that Nike SB actually launched in about 2002. So at that time, now I'm going to go a little bit around circle here. Those breakdancing days at the roller skating rink, one of the people that I met who lived in Baltimore County was Bucky Lassick. And Bucky had a bike, and his bike got stolen, and he got a skateboard because he could carry it everywhere that he went. And I remember seeing him at a fair, at a festival in the summer. I had a little girlfriend, and we went, to do our date day kind of thing. And here comes Bucky walking down the street. He's got a skateboard. He was wearing, these really bright colored shorts. I think his T-shirt might have been cut off, like sleeveless. He had a headband on. And I was like, dude, do you ever roller skate? He was like, no, I'm all about this life right now. And one of the very first contests that I went to, probably about a year after I started skateboarding, so 13, 14 years old, they had these little launch ramps in the park right near my parents' house. And this dude's doing 361 foots off of these little launch ramps and just doing all kinds of stuff. And my buddy who I saw do the first trick, he's doing what they call ollie airs. So he's riding off and ollieing, without grabbing his board. And I'm like, oh shit, like how do these guys do this stuff? And here I am pushing in front of, 150 kids, right? Because it was becoming pretty popular. And I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I go off this launch ramp and I land flat on my back. Oh, no. And then I'm embarrassed, right? But then I'm like, well, that's a part of it. You fall down and you get back up. And you just try to learn. You watch how your friends are doing it. And you ask questions if you need to. My father always taught me there's no such thing as a stupid question. The stupid questions are the ones you don't ask.
For sure.
Period.
For sure. You watch those skateboard trick videos, if they show you the clips before they actually land the trick,
right?
They
right.
may be there at sunrise,
totally,
and they get the shot at sun's going down.
Dude, it's gnarly. I know some guys that that film, for some local shops and whatnot, and their job is not easy by any means. It can take 8 to 10 hours to get a 10-second clip.
Yep.
Literally.
Yeah.
So
my son's been learning how to ollie in our driveway.
Oh, that's cool.
And he goes out there and he'll be out there for hours, and he's like, I can't do it, I can't land it, I can't. And I just kept telling him, just keep trying.
Yeah,
keep trying.
It's the mental challenge.
And then he came in all excited. He's like, I got it, I got it.
That's awesome.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a great feeling, man.
Yeah.
There's no what was appealing to me. Now, I did play Little League baseball for a couple of years. And my mom was real big into that. My mom, my dad, whenever my dad could be there, but my mom was at every game. And she thought that I would play really well and eventually play for the Baltimore Orioles. Well, I didn't want to go that path.
Who played for the Baltimore Orioles?
No, my mom wanted me.
Oh,
she
wanted
was like,
you
"Oh,
to.
you're so good. You can go wherever you want." And I did. I kind of had a natural ability with sports for some reason, but it wasn't my thing. I didn't like anyone telling me what to do, and skateboarding didn't have a coach. It was just more about going to meet up with your friends, hanging out.
The coach was who was ever the best kid?
Pretty much. Yeah, literally. So breakdancing kind of dies out. Bucky gets into skateboarding. Some of my other inner city friends are really into skateboarding. There's other people that are building ramps. One guy built a half pipe in his backyard, and then he built another one in the neighborhood that was like a 9-foot tall quarter pipe. And all I really remember is the transitions were not smooth. It was very, very difficult to go up to this thing. But you had guys in the neighborhood that were just trying to do airs and trying to do inverts. And, you know, an invert is when you plant your hand at the top and kind of pull your body upside down. I mean, these guys were just really pushing everything that I had seen. And again, I don't remember the first time I saw a magazine. But in that early era, there were no magazines. We weren't talking about any of that stuff. We were just out doing it. There's no internet. There's no influence except for your other friends. You know, and that sense of individuality really just messed with me. There's nobody telling me what to do. Now, of course, I want to be good, right? So I got to try, and I got to fall. I got to get hurt. One time, I was in high school. I was really into Vans. So high school years were 86 to 90. I graduated in 90. And there was a BMX dude that I was a huge fan of, Eddie Fiola, and he had his own Van shoe, just like the classic, you know, era, 4 laces, 3 laces on them. And it was an American flag colorway. So I want to say the toe was red and white striped, and the side was blue and white stars. You know, I'm in high school in the auditorium for some event thing, and one of my friends says, "Hey, come up here and sit." And I go to climb over the chair, and you know how the chairs fold? Well, I stepped on it wrong. My foot went down into the hole. When I go to pull my foot out, I sprained my ankle. And I'm in these pretty much brand new Vans. Well, now I got an ace band. I don't remember if I wound up going to the hospital for him or not, you know, because my dad was like, well, we'll just ice it and it'll be fine. You know, we'll wrap it up. That's who he was. But I stepped over that chair. My foot went all the way down. When I pulled it up, sprained it. And then I could only wear one shoe. And then I was afraid that if I only wore one, that one was going to get dirty and the other one was going to stay clean, and that wasn't going to be a good look.
That's the signs you're going to be a sneakerhead when you grow up.
Dude, like, it was weird like that. Like, I always thought about it. You know what I mean? It just always came back to it. I don't remember spending a whole lot of time, like, really cleaning my sneakers. You know, in the early 2000s when Nike SB became popular, I'll never forget. I mean, I wore DVS. I had a friend that worked at DVS, and he would hook me up with pairs. So he built, you know, some loyalty with me. Bucky at that time, he rode for, you know, whatever he rode for in Baltimore is what we all wore. You know, if he skated in Vans, we all wore Vans. If he rode for Airwalk, which, you know, he did and had his own pro model colorway come out, we all wore Airwalks, you know. And so gradually skateboarding being that important in my entire life, you know, from the time I was 13, I decided I'm moving to California and I'm going to work in the skateboard industry. And when I did, I contacted Bucky. He says, yeah, I can help you out a little bit. I had some other friends that were involved in skateboarding. And the very first day I remember I was in Encinitas. I was staying with some friends right across from the YMCA Encinitas skate park, which at the time was the biggest park around. 1998, I think. The park didn't open till 3 because they didn't want people cutting school, you know, so 3 o'clock on the weekdays. We go at 3. We went some other places in the morning. And fucking Tony Hawk shows up with his son. And his son's like 6 years old. And I'm skating this little mini ramp with his son. And once Tony got padded up, I was like, I ain't even trying to skate, dude. I'm watching your dad. I'm out. Nice to meet you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then being in Southern California, I was surrounded by the hub of everyone. I mean, you show up to a skate park, there's 3-4 pros, you know. And me growing up in Baltimore, we had Bucky, and then another guy that came up really was Brandon Novak, who wound up being kind of Bam's sidekick, you know, on the Bam Margera show for many, many years. I remember Brandon when he was 10 years old, you know, and he was crazy good. He just had a natural ability. I remember we took a road trip up to New Jersey for a pro contest, and all the big name dudes from California and all over the country were there. And Brandon entered that contest and got 4th place as a 10-year-old kid. That was amateur. Wow. Like, it was pretty impressive. He was sponsored by Gatorade and, you know, some other bigger brands. Like, it was cool.
As they used to say, no fear, right?
Exactly.
That was the big saying back then.
Exactly.
And if you didn't have fear, you could get on those ramps.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Vert was never really my thing. I skated a big vert ramp. You know, a couple of times I broke my wrist. The first time I ever broke my right wrist was on that ramp, and I just didn't want really any part of it. You know, I was hurt. I was in a cast. No, that's not my thing.
So did you like break it like on a like drop in or?
Well, I was doing this little alley-oop slide, so you come up one way and then slide around, and this ramp was a beast. It was 12.5 foot tall. It had 2.5 foot of vert, and it was all metal. It was
all metal.
Oh,
yeah,
that's scary.
Yeah, it was very, very well known. Called Fisherman's Inn, but they had 3 ramps. One was a 4 foot, probably 8 foot wide, a 9 foot that was 16 foot wide, and then hell ramp is what they called that thing. And literally people that were really heavily involved in skateboarding from up and down the East Coast would come up to that thing because there was really nothing like it.
Did you ever skateboard?
Nah, my skateboarding stories doesn't go as deep and stuff as that. I have about 1 to 2 experiences, and so that's why I ask. Like, I'll never know what it feels like to drop in or anything.
Yeah,
I've been at the top, look down, I'm like, whoo, that's a long ways down. And like, so now when you're talking about your kid doing an ollie, like I can do an ollie, but the first thing, I was probably like 6, 7. My dad, Mexican, build everything, whatever. He built a ramp that just looked like this, right? And my wheel, I was gonna be like, I'm gonna go off it, whatever. And so the wheels came up, got stuck right at the beginning because it wasn't like flat to the road. It was like a piece of wood just sticking, you know?
Yeah.
My wheels got stuck right there. I crashed into the ramp. I'm done. I'm done. No, hey, that's damn near about my skateboarding experience.
Yeah.
Besides from that, I did use it as my transportation. 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. Mm-hmm. It was my transportation. It wasn't my tricks, hanging out with friends. It was my transportation to school and back from school. Then me and all the kids, that's how like where I'm from and stuff. We didn't like skateboard. We were longboarders. Mm-hmm. I had plenty of longboards. I had like
Where are you from?
Over in Greeley, still here in Colorado, but just not the city. It's not Denver. It's not the city.
So you guys mobbed around on longboards, you were saying?
Yeah, be on longboards because the wheels are bigger, the wheels are smoother, bigger board, so yeah, and you could get some good speed and everything. Mm-hmm. And so I had like a Lanyard, I think the brand is called. Let's see, Santa Cruz. Mm-hmm. And then so yeah, my skateboarding experience way different. That's why like I was asking him about like how he did it. I would never know about the feeling about like really dropping in. I won't. That first like just him, the wheels hitting that piece of wood, I just crashed into the ramp. That hurt, that hurt. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, it's scary, man. Like I've done some that are like, I've never done like the 12 foot, 10 foot ones. Cause the same thing. I've done the smaller ones, like 4 foot, 6 foot. Mm-hmm. And then, I crashed. I mean, it was like a couple times I was able to go through, but yeah, you get up to those 10, 12 ones. You're like, okay, I'm going to start, I can, and it's like, nah. Yeah. It's like, it's definitely no fear, man.
I think I kind of get a concept. Like you're supposed to like drop in, but you gotta like have your weight back or something, or like. So I think I might have a concept, but
no, not back.
No,
if you go,
yeah, don't go back.
You just gotta
go back.
You just gotta go full send.
It's
just full send in.
I don't want to compare it to snowboarding, but it's kind of the same thing. If you put your weight back, the board's going to come out.
Yeah.
Okay, because with snowboarding, that's kind of like how you slow down. Is like you lean back, you like kind of sit down.
Well, you bend your knees though, yeah,
Yeah.
and you're binded up, so it's hard to compare.
Yeah,
because
okay.
on a skateboard you're not binded into it.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that thing it's harder to keep under you.
Totally.
Snowboard, you could, there's some forgiveness there
Yeah.
because you can pull it back because of the bindings.
Okay.
Skateboard, no. And then those half pipes and stuff, man, that wood is slick sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't put rough wood on there. It was that slick, smooth board because that's how you had to.
Like finished wood, huh?
Yeah, like masonite.
Yep.
Yeah.
Masonite was real popular. It would get dusty and then get slippery.
Yeah, super slippery, man.
Yeah.
Like they would build it with regular plywood underneath, and then the last cover would be that masonite. And that shit, geez, it's slippery just to walk on.
Yep.
With the shoes.
Literally. Yeah. I was
You have to know what you're doing.
probably 15 years ago. I was in Atlanta visiting a friend and went to this area there called Little 5 Points. And it was like the hip slick cool hub. You know, it had record stores and head shops, and it had 2 skate shops. And one guy, big name pro skater, Stevie Williams, opened a shop there. It was very classy and kind of a boutique, you know, style. And I just go in, and I had just come from Baltimore, where a friend of mine, Gary Smith, who owns a shop there called The View or View Skate Shop. He's got 2 different locations. Shout out Gary for, you know, your hard work over all the years.
What's his name?
Gary Smith.
Does he still have the shop?
Yeah.
What's the shop called again?
Called VU Skate Shop.
Where's
and
that?
it's in Baltimore.
Okay.
Yeah, he's, like I said, 2 different locations. But he did these little cruiser boards, so kind of similar to what you're talking about. You know, you have a board that's like a grocery getter, or just to go get some coffee or something. You know, it's got bigger wheels, it's a smoother ride. So he did this board, and I'm in Atlanta setting the board up. And this is after I moved out of California, got out of skateboarding, and was just hardcore in the sneakers, you know, pretty much again. So they have a mini ramp in the back of the shop. And I was like, yo, any chance I can skate that? And the guys were like, well, you seem like a pretty cool cat, man. Why don't you come back later tonight? You know, we'll have some other dudes that are here before we close. Come back an hour before we close. I said, all right, cool. And I'm skating, and this thing is slick, dude, like hardcore. And I slipped out doing a trick, and it was like my elbow went into my ribs, and then I fell straight to my sternum, and I wound up breaking 3 ribs. And they were at first like, nah, I don't know, man. Like, we don't have our insurance set up. And I went to the hospital. I had broken ribs before, but I was a little freaked out, man. Like, you know, I couldn't breathe right. I couldn't do anything. You know, you gotta hug a pillow until they start to heal.
Yeah, broken ribs are no joke.
No joke, man. Bad. And there's nothing they can do. So that happened on a road trip. At the same time, I had just come from Baltimore. Have another friend there who owns an indoor skate park. He's had it literally since we've been out of high school. Now, I haven't talked to the guy in many years, but, you know, big props to Jason Chapman at Charm City Skate Park. You know, he's held it down for Baltimore skateboarding, you know, with an area to go. Now, obviously, over the last 20 years or so, skateboarding has gotten more and more popular. Communities have gotten behind it. Skate parks are kind of everywhere. And in fact, I just noticed there was an event that they're going to be breaking ground for another skate park in Maryland. You know, it's just cool to see it, because we didn't really have anywhere to go. You know, we were just on the streets. There was a park, still is, called Lansdowne, one of the oldest parks in the country. 15, 20 years ago, maybe the county took it over and polished it up, you know, because it got aged, and some of the asphalt, I mean, it had rocks that were, you know, the size of quarters, like in this asphalt mix. So they came, put new concrete all over it, and yeah, it's just cool to see the evolution of it. as a
Yeah,
whole.
imagine how many Tony Hawks were out there in the world,
Dude, totally.
and they never skated.
Totally.
Never.
I mean, there were other guys that, we grew up skating around that really had some golden opportunities, that got sponsored by some bigger name companies that were getting product, shipped to them, etc. And they just didn't want to leave their family. And I totally understand that, and they went different routes.
Yeah, but having all these parks,
Yeah.
that will give the opportunity to find those guys
For sure.
who have the capability, who would never tried it
Yeah,
before.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So
Just like Dana White with the UFC, they're opening up all these facilities all over the world. They're trying to do because that's the way you truly find the best people. Otherwise, if those opportunities aren't there, those locations aren't available,
Right.
you're missing out on all this talent.
Yeah, no, totally.
Because people they'll be skilled, they'll be able to physically do something, but they'll never be exposed to it.
Yeah.
So it'll just pass by. Their life will pass by, and
For
they will
sure.
never do it.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's like if Bucky's bike never got stolen.
Right.
Would he ever got a skateboard and become who he is? I mean, the dude's amazing and just has such natural ability. I just watched some footage of him from last weekend. I want to say, it was in Tampa. It was at skate park at Tampa, and dude just still has it.
How old
know
is
what
he
I mean?
now? He's not young.
No, he's about a year younger than me, so he's 50.
Yeah. Wow.
But it's kind of like he found it at an early age.
Yep.
And he just stuck with it, and he stuck true to who he was. When he started making money, there was a lot of people. I'm not trying to tell his story as a whole, but just what I saw, being around. When he made money as a pro skater, he got into cars and the car culture, and that's also a part of his adult life. I don't know what his actual deal is, whether he drives for Subaru or something like that. But when he's not putting out skate footage, he's putting out car footage. He's helped his daughter remodel Subarus. He's done, his own builds within cars. I think he even makes some parts for cars now. But that's cool to see because, again, he probably wasn't thinking that when he was a kid, and got his first Honda Civic in 1990 or whatever it was, And I've kind of always followed that sort of whatever I'm passionate about, I'm going to do it too.
Yeah.
But it's always come back to sneakers and skateboarding. I don't skateboard like I used to. I pushed around a little bit yesterday at one of the parks, and I was just like, man, I'm out of shape.
I seen a video of you recently.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know how that looked pretty recent. And you were messing around in a
was
little
it
bowl.
the YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
one
YouTube video. That was easily 15 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty fortunate with the genetics, I guess. Most people, when they initially meet me, they don't think I'm the age that I am. Because I kind of surround myself with younger culture things. So there's that.
You gotta stay in the know.
It's got
That's it.
style.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. But yeah, there was, back to sneakers, because I could talk skateboarding as well for, a long time. When I moved to California, my first job was at a skate shop. I made a lot of reps, met a lot of inside people. I started going to the big trade shows. People were lacing me up because now I have power to buy, for stores. And they're like, hey, man, we really want to get our product in. What size do you wear? What size do you wear? And they're trying to build that loyalty. And they were cool. I'm super grateful. I got shoes from Reef when they were making skateboard stuff.
Did you ever rock were they D3s?
I never had a pair of D3s. I had a friend that worked at Osiris in the marketing department, and she had offered me shoes, and I was kind of embarrassed. I was like, I think I'm good on that style. Yeah, it was a lot. But that guy retired from skateboarding off of the residual sales from his shoe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
crazy,
believe
man.
it. They were
Yeah.
popular.
Yeah, literally.
They were weird, but they were popular.
They still make them.
Yeah.
What
yeah.
is it?
You don't-
D3?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look this up.
Yeah, the Osiris D3.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
they stopped for a while, right? And then they brought him back. I actually my cousin was a product photographer for Osiris for a
Oh,
while.
nice.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure he did the photographs for the relaunch of the D3s.
Oh, dope.
Yeah, so
That's cool.
Yeah, he worked in the industry for a while. He lived in San Diego, and he was product photographer for Osiris,
Okay.
and then he worked for Black Box for a while.
Dude, what's his name?
Jason Hainault. He was before he left. I think he moved back here something like 7-8 years ago. He was I don't know if he was team manager or something.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, he was traveling with the team, but he ultimately he left because he was like, I can't handle it. Like traveling
It's
around
too
the
much.
world with like 8 skateboarders,
And you're
is
babysitting
like
most of them.
babysitting,
Yeah.
and it's too much. I
Yeah.
can't handle
So
it. Too much stress.
That's funny that you just, you bring up Black Box because I worked for them
Really?
as well.
Wow.
Yeah. 2002, 2003. So I'll kind of, go into that a little bit more. So I'm working at the skate shop in Mission Beach, and I'm meeting all the right people, and I'm, networking, etc. And still no internet, right? Back then. But I wound up getting an opportunity to go work for Vans in their corporate office. And what's hilarious is, I always supported Bucky whenever I could. And the brands that he rode for is, back to childhood, what I was still wearing. There was a brand, Ezekiel Clothing, and he had his own Airwalk shoe come out. And I interviewed at Vans corporate office in a pair of Airwalks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in Bucky Lasik Airwalks that he gave me at the Encinitas skate park. But at that time, I was like, wow, I'm really doing it. I haven't even been here a year. My dreams are becoming a reality. I was like manifesting, but I didn't know how to, I didn't know what manifesting was. And I found at that time I wasn't an office guy. I just can't sit in an office and stare at a computer and answer phones all day.
Yeah.
So I wasn't into it.
That's what I do all day.
Yeah.
I'm actually the construction manager and business developer for our company.
Oh, wow.
So that's what I do all day.
Okay.
But hey,
Well,
I'm trying to get out of it.
yeah.
So I'm doing this.
Right.
You're more of out in the field type of person doing
Yeah.
I have to be
Yeah,
out, I
I-
have to do this, I have to be active.
I got to be moving around.
Yeah.
In one way or another. So, I land this job at Black Box. I'm working in the warehouse, and I'm seeing Nike SBs come in for some of the team guys. Some of the team guys are affiliated with Nike. For some reason, the product's coming to Black Box. I'm seeing it, and I'm like, oh shit, these are sick. And I go to a local shop, and I had just written something about this to, pay homage to the guy who got me interested. At this time, is a guy named Ken Lewis. He owned a shop called Hangar 18. And Hangar 18 used to be right down the street from the Washington Street Skateboard Park, which was kind of like a Burnside where these guys just came and started building, in this really abandoned, vacant area, under the highway downtown San Diego. So I got some brand loyalty for DVS because they're looking out for me. They're giving me shoes. And I was pretty good. I could hold my own, that's for sure. I wasn't pro level, but, I love skateboarding, man. And I go into Ken's shop, and he's got 4 Nike SBs on the wall. Just 4 styles. And they were such different colors from everything else that was being put out. DVS was real popular. Vans was popular. I think Etnies, America. I could be a little bit off on the other brands that were around. But nonetheless, these 4 pair of Nike SBs were such different styles than everything else that was around. I was like, holy shit, dude. Like, Nike and skateboarding. Now, they had tried several years prior, and skateboarders being who they were at the time, They were like, no, we don't want any part of that sportswear bullshit.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
the establishment brand. It's like they're too big.
Yeah, and they did. I remember when they started to make a comeback, they were in a series of commercials around the X Games that were, what if we treated all our athletes like skateboarders? And they would show people like playing tennis, right? Like, couples tennis. And this cop shows up like, hey, what are you doing? He's flashing his light, whatever. It's like, you guys can't be here. And, it shows like one guy trying to climb the fence and run away, because skateboarding, you sort of had to break some laws, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
At times.
Yeah. If you weren't in a skate park, you were probably
you were damaging property, stuff like that.
yeah. Trespassing.
Being a menace.
But I remember those ads, and I remember like, oh, that's hilarious. Like that's cool. You know what I mean? And then they recruited a few guys that were all big name dudes. They launched Nike SB as a team. I go into Hangar 18. The chocolate molder, or the Richard Molder chocolate Nike Dunk was sitting on the wall. The Bison SB was sitting on the wall. The very first Futura SB, and the fourth one always escapes me. I don't remember, but I wound up buying the Futura SB, and I didn't know anything about reselling at the time. I was a collector. Now eBay had kind of launched, some stuff. So I'm in the shop. I'm buying my first pair of Nike skateboarding shoes, Dunks. And Ken says, hey, man, have you heard about the Heineken Dunks? And I was like, what? Heineken Dunks?
It was so cool.
And he goes, yeah. He goes, they did this Heineken. They're doing this kind of beer pack. They've done a couple other shoes. And I was like, no, dude, what are you talking about? And he goes, hang tight, I'll show you a pair. And he had a pair. And he pulled them out. And he goes, these things are selling for $400 on the aftermarket on eBay. Because eBay was the only place that you could buy shoes.
Yeah, what year was this? The early 2000s?
It was 02, 03.
Yeah.
What was retail on that shoe?
They were $65.
Yeah, see, like
At the time.
retail from back then and now, inflation. But imagine paying $65 for the Heineken.
Dude.
Like, if we could pull up a shoe or anything, some of these shoes that we don't have in hand would be dope to see. Like, the Heineken one, really cool.
Totally. So...
yeah, Mike can pull that up.
Yeah, so prior... I just loved sneakers. I was a collector, and I wore and I skated, and there was the early 90s era where the Beastie Boys got real popular, and they were wearing Adidas Campus and Puma suedes, and you were getting a lot of influence. Yeah, look at that.
See, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Just because you could still see the like green suede on it of how nice it would be in person.
Well, and over 20 years ago, $400 was a lot of money, for a shoe.
See, you see stuff like this, man. You guys start drooling, huh?
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. I don't know if you see that price under there, but it says in stock $28,000.
Really?
I don't know what.
Yeah.
Is that like an original one or something?
I have no clue.
Yeah.
Yeah, visit and see what it.
StockX.
Oh, that's on. Oh.
Yeah, see, I was gonna say around 2,800 all the way to 5 or something would be on average.
Yeah, 5,500. I saw that shoe when they were on eBay for 400.
So is this would this be a shoe that was released lately, like a re-release, or is this the original?
No, that's the
original.
Yeah.
It probably won't come out, like, who knows if it'll come out again ever, but.
Yeah, there was some talk that they were going to be doing a Heineken 2.0.
Okay.
And there was a little bit of marketing campaign around that, and then I don't know what happened. Whether it got pushed back or it got scrapped, it never really released.
So that's an example of what you're talking about. So,
yeah.
And so when he's telling you that these shoes are going on eBay for 400, you bought them from him 65 and just wore them like hard, like skated through them and everything.
You didn't think about it at the time. It wasn't about the monetary aspect. It was about, once again, being different and wearing something that nobody else really had. Now, some of the first SBs, that hit, if you don't mind taking a look, the Reese Forbes Denim SB. Now, I never saw this shoe the low. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. Yep. When Nike, that was one of the first shoes that actually hit skateboarding shops, for sale under Nike SB.
Last sale, $10,000.
$12,360 right now.
And again, skateboarders being kind of rebellious, they weren't interested in what Nike was doing. Those things went on sale.
Below the 65?
To be able for the stores to get rid of them. Yeah. They would sit on sale.
But this is where you're starting to see this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. This is where the influence was coming from.
You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I can make some money.
Totally. So I was always buying shoes. Nonetheless, when I got the Futura SB, when I heard the story about the Heineken, I really started paying attention. I looked at eBay and I started seeing these prices. And I remember I don't remember what shoe it was. Yeah, there's the Futura. That was the first one I had.
This is your first?
Yeah. Yeah, because it was so unique.
Yeah, the SBs
the
were
colorway.
nice, man. When the SBs came out, man, a lot of skaters liked them.
Yeah.
That's my son right now. He mostly likes the SBs
Sure.
because he skates a little bit. He's not like a skateboarder per se, but he
Right.
likes the SBs.
Yeah, they're
They
good.
have a thicker tongue and some pretty good cushion, for to protect your foot. And
He just likes the look of them. I don't think.
well, they
for
are
sure.
pretty stylish too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I started to, kind of research the market a little bit more. I'm a skateboarder, so I always knew all the people at the skate shops, around where I lived, and supported their business at the same time. But then I would hear about a release. I remember there was a website. One of the first websites was Hypebeast. And, they're still around, but they were very, very popular. They were kind of a blog site, and they were really talking about what was up and coming, coming out next. And then there was a platform that was built called Nike Talk. And Nike Talk, I don't remember exactly if you had to get an invite, to be involved with that. But that was kind of like the first chat room that I had ever really experienced. So they had different regions around the U.S. And for me, I was living in Southern California. So I would go in the Southern California room and people would talk about, oh, this shoe is selling on eBay for $100, but it's at the outlet for $25.
Pretty good profit margin.
I was like, what? Like, that's crazy. And there I am driving down the alley, and there they are, and I'm buying as many pairs as I can. And then I'm starting to set up an eBay store and an account. And I'm like, man, I'm getting tired of working for these skate brands. Because that's another factor is for me, whenever I love what I do, when I work in it full time, it starts to kill it.
Yeah.
And I start to get really burned out on it. I wasn't skateboarding when I worked in skateboarding that much.
Good.
Yeah, I wasn't working out when I was working in the gym.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I started buying pairs, and I started learning more about what Nike SB was doing. And they had done before the SB Dunk got really popular, they were doing a dunk called the Low Pro B. And it was kind of their first introduction, but SB hadn't been fully formulated yet. Now, dunks have been around since '85, and they were originally basketball shoes. Mm-hmm. And they had a time in the market, and they didn't have a time in the market. And there was a time where they were on sale, and you'd hear stories of people buying them for $15, $10. You know what I mean? Just in a basement somewhere. Mm-hmm. But the Low Pro Bs were their first introduction to skateboarding. But they had no marketing campaign, and no one knew. Well, then there was a gentleman named Sandy Bodecker, and some people say that SB stands for Sandy Bodecker. Nah. But he actually went to visit shops, hands-on, and asked them what they wanted to see out of a shoe.
Stands for skateboarding, right?
Yeah.
Skateboard.
Yeah, literally.
Okay. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
So when I started to get into SBs and I had my first pair, I started to hear about the low Pro Bs. And I was like, oh, I want to start getting those. And like that one, the 3M, I didn't own that one. I owned a couple other ones. They were called the Grip Tape. And they did a white, they did a burgundy, and then they did a black one. Let's see if it pops up. Maybe put SB.
There's the grip tapes right there, the black ones.
Well, that one's a little bit newer, so that was the mid.
Sometimes if they're that old, StockX might not even have them listed or where you could find them. Sometimes you could switch to another source such as GOAT. And like I have the pair right now. It's a 2012 and it's called the Iguana. It's not on StockX. You can't find it on StockX, but you can find it on GOAT and some other places. But some of the older ones,
yeah, there you go. Yeah, see the black ones, like a white, gray.
see how that one's on GOAT, that one's on Flight Club. Like some of the ones you can't find on StockX, but you'll find them somewhere else.
Like it evolved into I want to start collecting those. I want to get I want to get as many as I can, period. And so I'm figuring out I better make connections with some of the skate shop guys. Hey man, are you guys getting these? Yeah, they should be here anytime. Well, when they come in, could you hold me a pair? They're like, yeah, dude, we got you. And then I had about, which sounds minimal, but, I had about 80 pair. And I'm watching eBay, and I'm doing Nike Talk, and I'm looking at Hypebeast, and I'm really, really engaging in this entire lifestyle, if you will. 80 pair, all right, I'm going to launch an eBay store. I'm going to see what happens. And I started to get a following, and pairs started to get a little easier, and I started to see, some decent money out of it. But I was also wearing every pair that I bought for myself and skating in.
You had a personal pair.
Yeah,
personal
literally.
pair of every shoe that you were selling.
And certain colorways of shoes that I liked, I'd buy as many as I could, and I'd wear them all and skate through them. And now some of those shoes are $3,000, $5,000, whatever. And they're long gone. They're long out of my life. I had a personal collection of over 300 pairs at one point. I had original 85 Jordan 1s, because when that shoe came out, I was 13. I was maybe 80 pounds and 4.5 foot tall in Baltimore City, and people were getting jumped and robbed. And, those in the starter jackets, people, there was violence around that shit. And my father being a cop, no, you're not getting those. You're not getting those. But there was another shoe that came out kind of parallel to the Jordan 1, which is called the Adidas Forum. And it was kind of Adidas's strike at what they were doing with Jordan Brand, or the Air Jordan 1, right? Because I don't know how
Because
much.
Adidas almost got Jordan in the beginning.
Yeah.
That was a close call.
Yeah.
So the one to like represent like the Jordan 1 would be like the high top or what?
So the blue high was the original shoe that I had, and again they were a little more expensive than my parents' budget.
Because Jordan was wearing Adidas. Also.
Yeah.
Before he signed the deal with Nike.
Totally.
Yeah. He just hadn't signed a deal with Adidas, I don't think.
Right. Yeah. So I still had this BMX bike, right, from those days when I rode bikes. And I had a friend that had a pair, and I traded him my bicycle cranks for that shoe. So I kind of started bartering, as a kid, and just didn't even really know what I was doing, at the time. But my father wasn't buying me those shoes. They were out of the budget. You know what I mean? And I wanted them. I wanted them because it was the next best thing to a pair of Jordan 1s. And I have my wife blew up some photos of me from like 1986. And I'm doing tricks off a launch ramp wearing that shoe. So, you know, it all ties in, right? Like sneakers, just pretty much my whole life, it all ties in. Early 2000s, working in skateboarding, SB's making some waves. I got 80 pair. eBay's the only aftermarket, you know, platform. Like, man, I might be able to make a living out of this. You know, I couldn't work for other people anymore.
Around what age were you like realizing that? Because you were seeing them like how you were picking up shoes and selling them, and it was being like pretty consistent revenue and stuff.
Yeah,
right? So like around what age? Because I'm like 23 right now. I probably noticed this about 3 years ago when I was like 20.
So, well, 21 years ago would be 2030. Yeah.
Yeah, but you got to remember, early at that time, there's not really sneakerheads reselling.
No.
There's no platforms to resell. Right?
Not like what he was just saying. The only platform was eBay.
Yeah.
Because now you got GOAT, StockX, eBay,
OfferUp, Marketplace, all kinds of. You know, I'm sure there's many that I don't even know about. You know, because I don't look at them a whole lot. But yeah, I thought, you know what? I'm really getting tired of working for other people.
Hate it.
Yeah.
Can't do an hourly. They're trying to tell you that you're worth this much when you know you could be worth this much.
So I remember telling Black Box, I'm putting my 2-week notice in. And I went home to my now ex-wife, and it was Friday afternoon, and she's watering the little bit of lawn that we had at her house. She's like, hey, how was your day? I was like, oh, it was cool.
I put in 2 weeks.
Oh,
no, you didn't hear it like that.
Oh, man. She was not stoked with me at all. And in fact, my friend that worked in marketing at Osiris had switched over to another company, and it was a women's swimwear line that was founded by the guy who started Nixon Watches. Chad, I think his name is Chad Denina. I don't know that I ever met him or whatever, but nonetheless, I had some friends that worked at Nixon. They were hiring. I went on an interview. The job didn't pan out. My then friend Lisa was working for the women's swimwear brand, and she was like, hey, we need a shipping manager. Do you want to try it out? And I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot, you know. She goes, let's reevaluate how you're doing after 4 weeks. It was all women, dude. I was the only male in the office, and it was challenging. And it didn't pan out. And I was like, you know what? Sneakers are here. Sneakers are profitable. I love the research. I love driving to get them. I love when they show up at shops, you know, et cetera. I'm just going to roll with it.
Yeah, you got in early on the game too, right?
Yeah.
So you're set up before everybody else was.
Yeah. I mean, there wasn't a lot of people looking at all that stuff, you know, back then. Excuse me. And so I launched a store. I built a clientele. I had people that were messaging me, you know, pre-release, hey, can you get your hands on this size? Can you get your hands on this size? I'm calling the local skate shops. Hey, did you guys get them? Hey, can you let me know when you get them? You know, we don't have cell phones, right? Like, we're just showing up, like traveling, calling, you know, from the house. And I built a brand.
What was it?
And I'm working for myself. So I started to think I want a store. I want to do a store. But now I learned a little bit about the industry and how it works. It's all who you know, literally.
Yeah.
And at the time, Nike SB in particular, you had to be 5 miles away from another account. So if there's a shop, you know, way over here and then there's one here, there might be room in the middle, but you got to meet the rep and you got to have your money right, period. They want to see how much you're going to be willing to spend. Now, I never wanted to affect other people's businesses. So I looked for a time in San Diego, And then it just so happened my ex-wife came home one day and said, "Hey, do you want to go check out Colorado?" And I said, "For what? Like to visit?" And she goes, "Maybe we'll sell the house and maybe move. You know, my ex-brother-in-law is a professor at CSU in Fort Collins." And we came out, and I was like, "Yeah, Fort Collins kind of dope." Then we found a house, and then we sold our house in San Diego, and 6 months later we were here. And I had a business plan that I'm not doing anything else. I'm opening a shop. And first thing I did, just like I had done my whole entire life, I found the skate shop. I made friends with the people that worked there. I found the skate parks. I started frequenting the skate parks so I can become a little localized with everyone. People I still am friends with today. I've been in Colorado 18 years now. So 2005, September 2005 move. I launched a store in December that year, 2 months later. Dealing all direct. Nike, Adidas, Puma, DC Shoes had an artist series that they were doing stuff. They did stuff with like Cause, Andy Howe, you know, some other people I can't really remember right now. But I carried all that stuff. Streetwear started to come into play. You know, I had known about Supreme and Supreme's brand. You know, I remember seeing a Kate Moss t-shirt on eBay for like $250. I was like, who in the hell is spending that kind of money for a shirt? You know?
Oh, yeah, like, for Supreme?
Yeah. And so they had their own thing going on. Now, growing up in Baltimore, we used to take day trips to go to New York. You know, we go up to New York City. You walk into Supreme, it ain't no thing.
Well, remember Versace when we were teenagers?
Totally, dude.
The kids would go to the Cherry Creek Mall because I think that's where Versace was at back then. And they would buy like a $50 t-shirt.
Yeah.
It's this thin little...
And it was crazy that people would spend that kind of money.
Yeah.
So some of my connections, you know, led me to a friend that he was working at Zoo York. He was sales manager at Zoo York, lived in New York City, but I knew him in San Diego. And he was kind of a business mentor. I looked up to the guy. You know, he'd been around for a long time. He was a pro skater. Then he got into the business because that's where the longevity is. And I was like, hey, man, you know some of the guys at Supreme, right? And he was like, yeah, I know a few of them. And I was like, you think they would consider opening a store? You know, not opening a store, but do you think they would consider allowing me to sell their brand in the store? And he was like, no, dude, they'll never consider that.
Supreme never really will. Like,
well,
only Supreme will sell Supreme.
Well, CDG, Comme des Garçons, or however you actually pronounce it, they get a little bit of their stuff in stores, but it's very, very minimal. So anyway, I was just engulfed by all this stuff, and I loved it, and it was all skateboarding background.
So did Supreme didn't?
No. That was never. Yeah.
But that's you're just testifying to how all the surfaces you were trying to touch and all the possibilities.
I was thinking outside of the box.
Yep.
You know, I was thinking lifestyle wear. You know, I always felt that skateboarders were a little bit ahead of the curve as far as fashion went. And that, you know, I don't remember the exact year, but Supreme had done kind of a bootleg Louis Vuitton collab. And Louis Vuitton caught wind of it, and they cease and desist, done. You know, but the pieces that were out there hit on eBay again, and they were going for money. You know, and it was like, damn, how do I get my hands on that? You know, so there was a level of excitement within the chase of trying to acquire this stuff. Well, my pocket says that's too much money, man. I can't buy those.
How much were they going for?
Well,
what was it? What were the items?
I think one of the beanies I remember seeing, it was like $1,000, dude. Like it was a lot of money back then.
For a beanie.
Yeah, for a beanie, literally. And it wasn't even. And I'm, you know, when winter comes around, I wear the ones that fold. But this was just like one of the flat ones, and I'm like, that's not even my style. I would never even wear that. But it was really when streetwear and sneakers started to cross paths. You know, Supreme was very influential with that. There were other skate brands that came and went, you know, were popular.
Yeah, like Airwalk.
Airwalk, dude. Yeah.
When I was
straight
a
up.
kid, Airwalk was. I thought they were pretty popular.
Airwalk had a Jason Lee shoe, you know, the actor. He was a pro skater, and I remember reading an interview with him in Transworld Skateboarding magazine where he said, yeah, this is it. I'm going into acting. I'm done with skateboarding. I'm retiring. He was one of the best to ever do it. Crazy.
Yeah, I had Airwalks when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Like a lot of kids did who
Totally.
skated.
Totally.
But then they just fell off, and now they're at Payless, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's true.
you know, there was at the time. So my very first skate shoes that my.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I think I have an old pair of Airwalks upstairs right now.
No shit.
Yeah, they're like gray and blue or something.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
My mother, when I really got into skateboarding, I remember she had a Montgomery Ward's credit card.
Sure.
And she goes, hey, let's go to Montgomery Ward's. We're going to get you some skateboard shoes. And my first actual shoes that were intended for skateboarding, I got two of them, which was crazy. A black Chuck Taylor High and a white Chuck Taylor High.
See, I like Chucks. Chucks are good.
And as soon as I came back, you know, as soon as we got back from that store and I laced them up, I put one white one on and one black one on. And nobody was doing that back then, you know. In the mid 80s, my mom's like, you're not going out of the house like that.
No.
And I'm like, no, I am.
Kids didn't do
She
that.
wasn't
No.
a fan of it.
Yeah, no, she was not a fan
Wow.
by any means. And so 2005, I opened the shop. I'm trying to build my own brand. You know, I'm right next to a Starbucks. I'm right across from CSU campus. I got a couple little restaurants around the way. Everything I did with the store was based on Orioles colors from where I come from. So it was all black, white, and orange. One wall was orange. And, you know, when I finally got my Nike account, they weren't the easiest people to deal with. They're like, Fort, what? Your store's where? Is that a military town? We never been there. We don't know anything about it. Well, they look at the demographic, right? They look at the population. At the time, the statistic that I remember was Fort Collins was 93%. What they said to me, vanilla. So it's 93% white.
Caucasian.
7% minority. So some of the product that I was looking at was considered to be urban. And I was told directly from a sales manager at Nike who came in my store to visit my business, you'll never be able to get urban product because you don't have the audience. You don't have the consumer. So I was like, no white on white Air Force Ones, no black Air Force One. Nope, you'll never get those. They go to minority areas. And I was like, wow.
But a lot of white kids wear those shoes.
Tons of every color wear those
Yeah.
shoes.
White on
You know
white
what I
Air
mean?
Force Ones. You go to the mall, that's like half the shoes in the mall.
Literally. And I just saw an Instagram video where a guy's like, man, that shoe looks like a plain ass piece of chicken. Like that shoe has no seasoning whatsoever. Because I'm not a big fan of all white shoes. I never have been because they get dirty
fast.
And when my sneakers get dirty, I ain't cleaning them. But I'm not wearing all white to go out to get dirty. I'm just not. And, you know, you see the hip-hop influence. They're like, oh, I only wear them once, and they're done.
Yeah.
Can I show you the last pair of white shoes I ever bought?
Let's see it, man.
And I'm wearing them right now. And I wanted to show them to you guys to get your opinion.
Absolutely.
They're not Nikes, but I've got a lot of sneakers. I don't know how many I have. I haven't even counted them. If I had to guess, I would guess I probably have like 40, 50
Okay.
personal pairs.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not a reseller.
Yeah.
But this is a pair.
Ooh-wee.
574s, New Balances.
Man.
Damn.
They have the dragon on the side.
Yeah, that looks
Those
like
are
really cool.
fire. Is it like the Year of the Dragon?
I
guess
think it
collab
is.
or
I
something
think
like
that's
that?
what it
Yeah, like
was.
2000.
Yeah, I looked them up. I think that's what it was.
Those are clean.
Those are probably Man, I want to say I could
Check the tag date.
I could be wrong, like 15 years old.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I believe it.
Is there a tag date in there?
No, there's not. Yeah, there's not one. But
What do you think I could get for these? Like 15 grand? No, I'm
who
just kidding.
knows, man?
I already looked them up.
You know,
I looked them up. They're only going for like $100
Oh, they're
or
cool.
150 bucks.
It's a cool shoe. You know,
Yeah.
again, growing up back east, New Balance is based out of Massachusetts. New Balance was a huge influence as well.
I wore these shoes specifically for you guys today. They're one
Okay.
of my pieces I don't even wear.
All right.
Oh,
That's
okay.
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like the rope laces about them. You know what I mean? It's just they're different. They're totally different. Now, just within the last year or so, New Balance started doing some different stuff that seems lifestyle, but it's really, I guess, basketball influence. They have a model called the 550. And the 550 started coming out in a bunch of different colorways. And there was a little bit of aftermarket on it. You know, they did some collaborations, you know, that brought some attention. And then there was the 650, which was the high top version of that shoe. And that was a full-blown basketball shoe. I don't remember the year that it actually came out, but I had a friend in my neighborhood in Baltimore when we were kids that had that shoe. Like, I remember, I was like, I've seen this before. I remember this shoe. You know, so there's a lot of stories for me around all this stuff. I remember going, I was in the Haight-Ashbury area of San Francisco, and I was with some friends, and we were going to get food. And I hadn't really seen any of the shoe stores. Walked into a shoe store. They had a green suede with a yellow striped Puma. And I wasn't brand specific at the time. I liked what I liked, and I wore what I enjoyed wearing. Green and yellow Puma suede. And I was like, damn, do you guys have my size? And they go, yeah, we got it. And I was like, well, how much are they? Shit. Let me go eat, and I'll think about it. I'm sitting at the table, order food, and I'm like, I got to run back. I got to go check out this shop. I got to get this shoe before they close. And I literally run, go in, buy the shoe. They're trying to put it in a box. You know, I'm living in Baltimore at the time, but just visiting. Do you want a box? Do you want a bag? I'm like, no, tie them shits together. They're going over the shoulder. And then I ran back, ate dinner with the sneaker over my shoulder. People are looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, I had to have it. I didn't want the store to close. I'd never seen that colorway before. You know, so there was moments like that, you know, within my life. I went on a trip with the Black Box guys up to San Francisco for a Thrasher, kind of an anti-ASR trade show event that they put on. I saw the initial White Dunk. If you could pull a picture of that up, that shoe was so sick. That was part of the City series. That's where the Pigeon Dunk came into play, and the Paris Dunk came into play, and the London Dunk. But seeing the White Dunk in hand, 202 pairs made in the world.
Thrasher, that was the magazine we looked at when we were kids.
For sure.
Thrasher was the magazine.
Yeah.
So was you supposed to look up?
No, it's
maybe I looked up the wrong one.
Yeah, it's the Tokyo, Nike SB Tokyo White Dunk.
And these are shoes that are going for money. Quite a bit of them now.
So what's the story behind these?
It was their first kind of introduction. Yeah, the second one over, if you look at that one up top. Or Sotheby's, you know. Where's the price? $7,500.
Just some chump change.
But again, it's all white.
Yeah.
And it's canvas.
Yeah.
Just all plain.
So as soon as you walk outside, that shoe's going to get dirty.
That
Oh,
just
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
grabs all the dirt.
But yeah, it's crazy.
Size 9.5 by for $25,000.
Yeah, it's crazy how it's become so collectible.
How much for a pair of 11s on there? No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to buy
That's
it.
it.
I'm just
Oh, no offers, just bid.
bad.
But what was the 9 at? Like 25, 26,000?
Yeah.
25,000.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, you can only wear those to like events
Right.
Yeah.
inside.
I have some higher end clientele that tells me specifically, if you can find this, if you can find that, like, let me know, dude. I'll take them.
Yeah, if you got
I
the
want
money.
'em. Yeah.
Yeah, if people have the money.
Yeah. So
What shoes were like 202 limited? You know, like the pigeons and stuff of London,
Pigeon,
Paris.
the Tokyo, the Paris, and the London SB. Now, when I'm doing all the Nike Talk stuff, in the early 2000s, there's someone that posts that they have some B grades Paris Dunks at the Nike outlet store. B grades, so they have a stamp on them. The stitching may be off, but the shoe is quality, and you can still wear it. Yeah, I mean, like, you don't see those shoes. No. I don't know anyone locally that has any of those.
And so, like, a B grade shoe is like they just had like a defect or like a,
right.
But it was still authenticated everything from
Totally.
Nike stores.
Absolutely. So,
What is the most expensive shoe that's ever sold? And I was looking at it. I thought it was a Jordan shoe. I'm trying to look it up, but I heard there was something that was like million or plus or something, was like an original Jordan shoe.
So, another interesting story. Common, the hip hop artist, he's from Chicago, right? Most people know that, but he played. He was a ball boy for the Chicago Bulls in 1985.
Ball
Go
boy.
figure. Okay. So he had a pair of Jordans that were player exclusive. The most pertinent shoe ever. From Jordan's feet, authenticated, the whole nine. There was letter, statement, etc. His father used to live in Denver, and I had a friend he got interviewed by the Westwood, the local paper.
Westward.
Westword.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
My bad.
No, you're good.
He got interviewed by them, and then there was a local store, because I was living in Fort Collins, he was in Denver, and this local store put him in contact with this guy, and this guy's like, hey, man, I have something you might be interested in. And he was like, what? And he goes and he meets him, and it's a player-exclusive Jordan 1 from Jordan's rookie year. It was made for him, game-worn, right? And he goes, dude, you're not going to believe what's sitting on my table right now. And he told me, and I was like, you got to bring those things up, dude. I can't make it to Denver. You got to drive. He was like, if I get into a car accident and these things get ruined, like, I'm scared, but I'll do it. And he did. And just to hold that shoe, that has become a game changer, literally. From 1985, the Jordan 1 was amazing. I smelled it and shit. Like, I'm touching the material. The material is way better than anything you'd ever see sitting on a wall in a store. They were like triple stitched. Nike used to use a quality called HTM leather, on their shoes. It was very, very nice. They had HTM leather on. Like, they were amazing. And yeah, to hold that Fabergé egg for a guy like me, there's no better moment.
Was it the Chicago colorway? Or?
Yeah, the Chicago.
What happened to the shoes? He just came up to show them to you, or you
Well,
were buying them?
So the guy that gave them to him, he wanted to see if he knew someone that would buy them. And there was a gentleman that lived in Denver who offered him $25,000. And the guy was like, nah, man, I'm going to hold on to them. I think they're I think they're worth way more than that, but that's an unforgettable moment for me. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I got tired of the business. I got tired of the politics behind it. The housing market was crashing in 2008. I closed up shop. And most people at that time "Oh, you're Chris from UnSoled," because UnSoled was the name of my store. "You're Chris from UnSoled, Chris from UnSoled." Guy says, "Hey, man, you ever thought about modeling? You got to look." You know, I was getting tattooed. Tattoos weren't as commonplace as they are now. And I was like, well, I'll give it a shot, man. So I did some modeling stuff. And then I just kind of became Chris UnSoled, if you will. And the name is stuck. During that time.
Is that what the box is from? Is your shop or something?
Well, hold on, man. This isn't a reveal here.
Damn near.
During that time.
No, go ahead. I'm just kidding, man.
Couple stories.
You've had this box, and I'm very excited to see what's in it.
And like, if you saying the Oiler colors, you know, black, orange, this has to be from your shop or something. This is something all
That's
about
what
you.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's a specialty shoe
Yeah.
that's made just for UnSoled.
Now,
That's my guess.
A few years back,
It's a dope shoe box.
I had posted and asked if anybody in my audience had any unsold apparel, anything, you know, that they would be willing. I was just trying to kind of put a collection back together, a little bit of the stuff that I had done. And a really good friend, he doesn't know the truth about this, so this is a little groundbreaking.
Is he gonna find out the truth right
Oh,
now?
I'm sure. Yeah. So he was like, "Hey, man, I have a box and I never wore the shoe." And I was like, "Dude, are you serious?" And he goes, "Yeah, you need to have this back." So a couple years ago, the shoes weren't my size. They were 10.5. I wear a 9.
That's my size.
A buddy of mine.
You got a buyer over here.
Oh, yeah. He'll lowball me.
Hey, you just gotta check market real quick, all right?
Yeah. So a buddy of mine comes to visit from Baltimore, and I said, "Hey, man, I got something for you, dude. I know these are your size. You'll do them justice. You wear them." And I gave them to him, and he was like, "Man, that's your history, dude. I can't take those. I can't take those." And I go, "No, you need to take them, and you need to wear them in that city, because that's where it all started for me, right?" I had a little battle with Nike. They let me do an existing model of a shoe. They paid for some of them. I paid cost on the others. But I had these boxes made, and they were all numbered. 4 of 6.
Can you spin it? Can I see the number? Where's the number?
Yeah. See, it's right there.
That's cool.
So there's 6 of those. This is the 4 of 6.
Yeah. Well, this one's a little
Of
bit
this
different.
particular.
This one's a little bit different because that 10.5. I'm sorry, Frazier. When I gave the 10.5 to my buddy in Baltimore, his dog ate him.
Oh, Frazier just found
He
that
got
out.
he got to wear him like 3 or 4 times, and then his dog grabbed him and just tore him to shreds, and he got rid of him.
Can't leave shoes around dogs.
And then get this, he tells me, because I'm calling him, you know, we talk like every couple months or whatever, and I'm calling him, and he's not returning my calls, he's not returning my text, and then finally we have this, and he was like, "Bro, I'm sorry, my dog ate your shoes," and I was avoiding you, I didn't want to tell you. And I was like,
Just chalk it up to the game, man.
I was a little pissed. You know,
Just
I ain't
a
gonna
little
lie.
livid.
So at the time, Nike allowed me to do some apparel co-branded, you know, authorized. They gave me 36 of these shirts to go along with this specific release. You know, it's just unsold Nike, right? Like it ain't nothing fancy, but for me, again,
It's meaningful.
It's history. It's brand new. I never
Yeah.
wore it.
That's cool, man.
You know, and then the shoe, the only shoe that I had left was my personal pair, and unfortunately the material gets kind of solid, and then they start to separate. You know, you've probably seen where a midsole will just completely break off.
Deteriorate.
Yeah, and I can't wear these. I can never wear them again. But these were my personals, and I wore them all the time.
Some Air Maxes, huh?
0.06.
0 of 6.
Yeah, because I had 6 pair that were released to the public. These were never going anywhere.
They were his personal.
Yeah.
0
Yeah.
out of the 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, can I see one?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just gonna I'll pass them to you.
Yeah, a few years back, I tried to wear them, and the whole midsole was just way too stiff.
Yeah.
And I thought, these are gonna break, and they won't be any good, and then I'll really be bummed.
Yeah.
You know. But again, it was an existing model. The differences in the design when I did those.
Damn, the paint's starting to fade away and everything.
It used to be kind of a lime green. I just made one little element different on each and every shoe. So not everyone was getting the same pair. You know?
Well, so every single pair, the 0 out of the 7/6, like there is a difference on each pair.
Absolutely. No individual pair was exactly the same.
So they're really all a 1-on-1.
Yeah, all one on
Literally.
one. That's
Literally.
pretty cool. That would be like pretty special.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Air Max.
And, you know, because I was a shop owner at the time, there were a couple other businesses around that were doing very similar stuff to what I was doing. One in Boulder, in fact, and then one in Denver. I kind of wanted to be the first, you know, to do something kind of to that degree. So they gave me the thumbs up. I had these boxes customized and painted.
I think the shoe box is probably the coolest part. Like it makes it like a whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did, you know.
So was there a box for each one of the shoes?
It used to come in kind of a military canvas bag, you know, a zipper bag, because that kind of went with the theme, you know, of the ammunition box at the same time. So that was a really big moment for me.
Being one of the first guys with a shop in Colorado, having their own Nike collab.
Doing a collab, you know, with them. 5 pairs sold immediately. 1 pair went to a friend who owned a shop in San Diego at the time. And my understanding was someone from Japan came in and bought the shoe from him. So maybe there's a pair in Japan if they're still, you know, going.
You're worldwide now.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, I love this shit, man. I totally do. You know, I brought one other thing that's kind of relevant to, you know, newer styles. This was a pretty difficult shoe to get.
Oh, okay. It's definitely this year or within last year.
Yeah,
this year.
It's my size, but you know, it was a very, very hard shoe to get. It's a Jarritos SB. You know, I heard there was only like 40,000 of these made. I had 9.
What do you think of that shoe,
total.
Kingsley?
It's very cool because what a lot of people do and don't know if you are or not a sneakerhead, it's a wear away / cutaway.
Yeah, so this entire upper here, you know, if you skateboard in it, eventually it will wear away, and then underneath.
Watch, can you look up a Jarritos cut on just it online?
And they did a really good job not revealing.
The wear away is when it wears away. There's something else underneath it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Underneath of all this.
So
is
for like
arm suede.
skateboarders, if you're doing tricks and scratching the shoe quite a bit, a lot,
Right.
there'll be colors underneath, or you could just already cut it and have it kind of custom to
Yeah.
you.
See, there it is.
Oh, they cut it away right there.
And so
Yeah.
with the colorway and it being Jarritos and the drink and all, it's pretty cool and everything. I always drank Jarritos. You kind of told me that you only maybe drank 1 or 2, but
The day that I got this shoe in my hand was the very first day I ever had a Jarritos soda.
Oh, you got it. Yeah.
yeah. So
I
there's
haven't drank many Jarritos, if any. I don't recall the last time I did.
Yeah.
maybe it has to do with our skin complexion. Maybe I drink them all the time, everything.
Yeah, Hispanic people love those.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And
So,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, that just skateboarding sneakers, man. 51 years old.
Yeah, so that's cool when they wear away for skateboarders.
Yeah.
It still adds to the flavor of the shoe.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. You know,
Nice.
they did the tongue logo a little bit different than what they normally do. And my understanding as well is the burlap on here is supposed to emulate.
Can I see one?
Yeah, of course. It's supposed to emulate the bags that they were initially being carried in. You know, or
okay,
stored
yeah, I
in.
know what you're talking about, like being delivered to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the sodas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why they, you know, again, my understanding, that's why they chose that material on them, because it goes with Jarrito's storyline as well.
Did you want to see it, Mike?
Yeah, pass one over.
Check it out, man.
Because with there's like a special box too where they put 4 of the drinks inside of the box, and you could have like that as the special box.
Mm-hmm.
So as a reseller, how much do these sell for?
That one, it's right around 500 now.
Yeah. You're holding about $500 in your hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, just kind of a cool shoe that was difficult to get, earlier this year.
I didn't touch any. I didn't get it. Never touched my hand. Never got it.
Yeah, I got a pair of Vans I wanted to show you too, man.
Okay.
So these are new. I just bought them like 6 months ago, and obviously you can still buy these.
Oh, yeah.
I love Thrasher though.
Heck
Thrasher has
Yeah, but
always
this-
been one of my favorite brands.
Yeah, but this is something I picked up like 6 months ago. Like, I was a poor kid, man. Like, I lived with my mom for a time, whose father was well off, but I didn't want to live with my mom, so I wasn't there much. Just a couple years. I mostly spent a lot of time with my dad and other people who didn't have much, and I didn't even buy a football until I was like almost 40.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
Yeah, like I was probably like mid-30s, but like having this kind of stuff when I was a kid, I didn't have it. And going back to what you said, when you seen the kids who had the checkerboard Vans, now I'm fortunate, I can buy whatever I want.
Sure.
But when I pick up something like this now, it means it goes back to my childhood,
Right.
because the Vans, along with the Thrasher, because that was really a big thing for us when we were kids. So I just enjoy these.
You were really big into Thrasher?
Yeah, Thrasher was like that's why I remembered the magazine, because
Yeah,
that's
Thrasher magazine.
Yeah, that was the big magazine. I mean, you got a hold of a Thrasher, man. You're like,
You could buy them at 7-Eleven.
yeah, yeah. But
Literally.
well, if you could buy them, right?
right.
I think when we were those kids, we were stealing everything we got at that time. But,
Right.
but yeah, if you got a hold of a Thrasher, man, you're just like reading it. You're checking out the pictures, man. So
Studying.
yeah, you're like, man, these guys. You see all the pros in there, stuff they're doing.
Yep.
And you're just like, man, it was like we didn't have the internet and YouTube. So when you got a Thrasher magazine, it was like watching a YouTube video,
Yeah.
but on pages.
Right.
On pages.
Right.
Yeah.
Be a textbook or something, like be a magazine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and to touch on magazines, so there was a guy that I used to work for in San Diego at a shop, and this was right before I full-time went into reselling on eBay. He has a magazine preservation nonprofit organization called Look Back Library. Shout out Kevin Marks. I don't know exactly when he started this thing, but this dude voluntarily collects magazines from people and builds libraries at skate shops, skate parks, and he's got them all over the country now, and I believe he's got some even in Europe. Like, it's really cool to see, his level of skateboarding is kind of like that for me with sneakers, right? To a degree. He travels around the country, usually every year. And whenever he comes to Colorado, man, he stops in, and just checks in with me. A few years back, he had some older stuff that I wound up working and negotiating a deal with. And I actually sold some stuff to the Nike SB or Nothing guy on Instagram.
Like Nike SB.
Yeah,
I got them to
because-
repost me a couple of times for like the videos that I made.
Yeah.
And like I straight messaged them. I was like, look, I put so much passion into these videos. All I want you to do is just, not a big deal or anything. Can you just post it on your story?
Right.
And it was real cool because they have a big following, 130,000 maybe.
Yeah. It's
But
a lot of people that see that, you
Yeah.
know. And so that's where social media has changed everything. Is that in my business, I have to stay relevant, and I kind of have to post. Not necessarily post like a picture and a story about a shoe or whatever, but I got to put stuff on my stories.
Consistency.
Yeah, I've got to be consistent, because if you're not, there's somebody else that is, and you're getting overlooked. And I just got to have an experience this week with a gentleman. I had a candy corn Nike SB Dunk. It's the Halloween theme for this year. It wasn't a difficult shoe to get by any means, but there was some demand for it, so I grabbed the demand and I walked into a place and a guy says, "Oh, you're delivering more shoes to so and so." I'm there 2, 3, 4 times a week sometimes. And the guy says, "Man, can I take a look at them?" And I said, "Yeah." And I show him, and he's like, "Dude, those are sick." Now, I'm not a huge fan of the colorway, personally.
The candy corn?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I'm not crazy about it. It's cool.
It looks exactly like the candy corn candy.
It's white, yellow, orange. It's a high top. And right now, high tops aren't really sought after. Everyone wants lows.
Yeah.
In dunks.
Can you pull that up, Mike? I'm gonna check that. I've never seen one.
Yeah.
A candy corn?
Yeah.
No, just
So I walk
Not a
in.
candy corn.
I walk in. I have.
I've eaten a lot of those.
Yeah. I walk in. I have a pair for a guy, and another guy says, "Hey, Chris, what shoe is that?" He was like, "Can I check it out?" And I said, "Yeah." And I opened it up. And I
Okay,
showed
yeah, it
him.
looks just like a candy corn.
Yeah,
Yep.
literally.
It even fades like the candy
and
does.
if you look at the bigger picture on the Kicks of Fire, you can see the toe. It has like imprinted bite marks.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that part, honestly.
Oh, you didn't?
Because to me it's an ugly shoe, so I didn't touch it, no nothing. But that bite mark is pretty unique and cool.
And then the ankle strap, it not strap, but the support.
I honestly don't mind the look of them.
Yeah, they look good on feet. I've seen people wear them.
Oh, it says
I have a
warning.
pair. I haven't worn them. I don't know that I will. Maybe. But yeah, it has a warning, and it says, "Do not take candy from strangers."
That's cool.
Like
That's
so,
nice. I like
it's little stuff like that. Now,
Where's the bite mark at?
see it on the toe right there,
Right there.
like the imprint.
You might need some glasses
Yeah,
on.
I
It
need
sounds somebody
glasses. I
binoculars.
refuse
but-
to wear 'em.
So keep going. That black, the one with the black midsole. Yeah. That was a sample of what was supposed to come out.
Okay, because samples are like just.
But then they just did the actual production model where it has the white midsole, orange stitching, and then
it
black
fades.
outsole. Yeah.
So that's what it's supposed to be, and that's what we got.
Well, it's a prototype, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Now, I show this guy this shoe. Gentleman's older than me, super nice guy. Had a handful of conversations with him before. I go to drop a pair off to my buddy in the same building. And the guy up front texts my buddy and says, "Man, if he could get a 10.5 in that, my father-in-law would really, really like that shoe." So I walk back up and I go, "Jimmy, guess what, dude? I got a 10.5 in my car." And he was like, "Are you kidding me?" And I go, "No, hang tight." And I go into my car, come back. He was like, "Dude, how much?" We negotiate a price. He takes the shoe. I get a text from him earlier in the week. The father-in-law in Iowa, 77 years old, rocking this shoe with the biggest smile you've ever seen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Shoes can bring people a lot of happiness.
totally, man. And I love that I get to help people when they don't have the time or the energy or the know-how, to do this stuff. They come to me.
It's like providing a service.
It totally is.
Well, there's no doubt you're definitely a sneakerhead that's in the game, been in the game for a long time,
Yeah.
and is still in the game.
Yeah.
So when you close your store
Mm-hmm.
because of the economy crash after the housing market went down,
Mm-hmm.
you just started selling just basically
Word of mouth,
word of mouth. Yeah.
Instagram.
I knew some people in Denver, Fort Collins, etc. I was giving a lot of these pairs away for like nothing. I didn't want. I was tired of the business. I was tired of the politics. I was tired of not getting calls back because Fort Collins, Colorado, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? But it was what I loved to do, and it still is. But I just don't want to deal with those people on a direct level anymore. I I had people that said, "Oh, we need to do an UnSoled again. We need to do another store, this, that, and the other." I just don't see it's in my future. You know, there could be something. There's some talk, you know, of some stuff upcoming, but nothing's ever 100%.
But right now, you're still selling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brick and mortar is not as necessary as it used to be to make a living. Really.
Absolutely.
And people are robbing those stores too, man. You
Yeah.
see those videos where they go in there and they clear everything out, even if you have them locked up.
There's one store that's like hit like in the double digits already now. Like
I heard there was one in Aurora, in the Aurora Mall, maybe they got hit a few times.
Yeah, there's a couple over there.
yeah, they keep getting hit. People they keep hitting them because they know that that's where inventory is.
And I think there was one downtown that got hit a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that hurts, man.
Yeah, it does.
'Cause they steal
Hardcore.
those expensive sneakers.
It stirs you away. Like say
Absolutely.
that you have a big amount of sneakers and they get stolen. All it stirs you away. Like damn, this sucks. Like it's a restart again. So yeah, that it definitely sucks.
Well, and you know the thing about it is, when it's limited, people want it.
And then you have to be careful when you're meeting people.
Absolutely.
Somebody, the
Absolutely.
whole
Yeah, you
the
meet
whole
people
robbing thing.
Yeah, you meet people in public places. There was a couple guys last summer, beginning of last summer, that got robbed at gunpoint at Aurora Mall
Well, for
In
like
the
20
middle of-
pairs, huh?
in the middle of the day.
Like out in the parking lot.
Yeah,
Yep.
straight up.
Yeah.
You know, so there is a risk factor. I mean, wherever there's sneakers, there are hood cats.
Yeah.
Period. You know, and kind of to touch upon what I mentioned earlier, you know, with the demographics going to minority areas, right, which is where they cater. Well, that's a little risky to go there.
Generally
You know,
a rougher area.
yeah. When I moved to Colorado,
And some of the better, more expensive sneakers might be in those areas.
right?
Like what you're saying, because that's what Nike's saying.
Yeah, because that is part of that community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had a buddy of mine tell me, "Dude, don't go to Aurora Mall by yourself." This was many, many years ago, and I was like, "Well, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but I'm from Baltimore, and I got street smarts, and I know how to feel, you know, pick up on energy if I'm being followed, if somebody's staring too long, you know, if they're eyeing me up." I experienced that in Atlanta. You know, when I was in Atlanta at one point, I was by myself, and these two cats just kept like watching everything I was doing, you know. And so I got more friends in Aurora Mall now than I have at any other mall around.
As far as the shoe game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of. Yeah.
I was just there yesterday. you
Yeah,
know.
I've never had a problem over
Right.
in Aurora or the
Right.
Aurora Mall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think same thing with me. I grew up on the East Coast, grew up in California,
Right.
like you,
Yeah.
and yeah, man. I'm not saying I've been jumped and gotten more fights and robbed more from or mistreated more from white people than anybody. So yeah, it's all in
Sucks.
perspective
For sure.
for sure. So the culture, man. I see it like I see your generation,
Yeah.
Kingsley, and I see my generation. Like you guys are just younger. Like you guys are just the younger version of us. Like I mean, look at what you're rocking right now with the overalls. You know.
The Supreme overalls.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. You know, Supreme. Other than that, yeah.
No, but I'm just saying like that was. It's like repeating the same trends and the same culture.
Yeah. It, like
Yeah.
cycles through.
Yep. I think there was a time between our generation and your generation that kind of was a little different, but then you guys brought it back and you guys thought you were doing it. But honestly, when I look at you guys, I see the kids that we grew up with doing the same thing.
Yeah, so something like that. One of these shoes that, as an example that I brought, is the, not replica, but it resembles the 1985 Chicago colorway. And so saying had like the new generation, not copying or whatever, but this is called the Lost and Found. Kind of acts as if it was lost so many years ago, and that's just what it is.
Is that why they do the box like that? Because it's just like they
Yeah.
make it a combination of it's not meant to look like it's supposed to be one box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then you get your old newspaper from like Jordan and everything. and that's exactly what it resembles is the 1985 Chicago colorway. And so you can look at it up at the top. It has it like pre-cracked in the black.
Yeah, like worn down.
Yeah, if you look at the bottom, it already acts like as if it was already worn.
Oh, they just put like a little fade in there, like a little dust or look.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I can see what you mean by the old generation, new generation.
Speaking of that shoe, earlier you were trying to look up the most expensive shoe ever sold.
Yeah, what is it?
Says the record for most expensive shoe ever sold in 2023 at auction was an Air Jordan 13, netting an incredible $2.2 million.
Jeez.
And check out the shoe.
2.2. Yeah, I knew it was like million something.
2.2 million.
Yeah, and so this is exactly how it's supposed to. Yeah,
Yeah, it's the same shoe. This was just one Jordan.
And it says lacing them during Game 2 of the 1998 NBA Finals.
So he actually wore that shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only reason it's yeah. If it was a new if it was the exact shoe that he did not wear from that same time period, how much would it be worth, you think? Like 20,000, something like that?
So like a 1985 Chicago?
Yeah.
About 15.
I mean, that's...
I'm selling these this Wednesday.
That to
so
me
that's
is just
good.
it's difficult to talk,
Right.
You know, the monetary value. Because again, like my friend that brought, you know, an 85 Jordan 1 worn to my shop in Fort Collins, the guy said 25 and the guy was like, no. You know, he was wanting, I think the number that I remember, he said about 75. Now, this is in the mid-2000s. Sneaker culture in population has grown considerably.
Yeah.
That may be more than that shoe that's sold.
Yeah.
Could
You
be.
know,
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
hard to say.
Going back to the conversation of the urban, quote unquote, urban kids versus like, you know, the suburban areas or rural areas. One thing I've noticed, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I've seen with where my kids go to school. Because my kids are, you know, they're fortunate. They didn't have to live the childhood I lived, and
Sure.
you know, now I'm providing for them, and you know, they got things, and they go to a good school that has other kids that have things. I notice those kids who have things and come from wealthier families, they don't give a shit about wearing fake shoes.
Yeah.
They even laugh about it.
Yeah.
They wear fake shoes. They laugh about it. Whereas you couldn't do that in the inner city schools. Like when I went to school on the East Coast and in California, you couldn't wear no fake, cheap stuff.
Right.
They're pointed out. They're calling you out on it. How is it backwards like that? Like the kids that can afford it are going and buying the cheaper stuff and laughing about it, and the kids who are struggling to get it, they only will wear the real stuff. Now, obviously, there's kids that have money that wear the real stuff too.
Sure,
You have that, but what is the deal with that?
Well,
Have you seen that?
I think it kind of
Yeah.
has to do with
Yeah,
your
yeah,
own
yeah.
personal code. You know, like me, I'm not going to wear ever something fake, you know, and that's kind of probably like what their mentality is, you know.
So culture, right? Being true to the culture. And a lot of those kids who have money, they're not really in that culture.
It's not a cultural thing.
They're doing it for
Yeah.
the hype or the excitement or the, you know, watch me mess up these shoes because it don't mean nothing.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Well, and let's face it, they're kind of smarter for saving the money.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know, to a degree, right? But it's not an authentic product,
Right.
you know. And that industry has existed for as long as there's been luxury brands, right? Louis Vuitton,
Gucci,
you
all the
name it.
handbags
You name
and
it.
stuff.
You
Yeah,
know?
you're right. Yeah.
And so, you know, within that, like I just got back from Los Angeles last week, and I walked by a Stussy store, and there was a line of people outside, and I didn't know what they were doing or if there was.
Stussy, I haven't seen Stussy in a
Yeah,
long
man.
time.
Yeah, they're still strong.
Yeah.
They had just done a collab I saw with Mountain Hardwear brand, which is similar to, you know, North Face and whatnot. And I thought, well, it's Sunday and there's a line, and I wonder if they're doing an in-store release. If they did, an online first to, get that customer, and then in-store. And I asked a guy, hey, man, what do you stand? Is there a release? And he was like, oh, I don't know. He didn't even know why he was standing in line.
No, there's two ways you could go about that, though.
Right.
So
One way is, like, what if there's something happening and he's being like a dickhead?
well, true.
He ain't
maybe
going to tell you.
Maybe he didn't want to give me any info.
He didn't want, or he's just like, I don't know. There's a line, and I'm here.
He's hopping on the hype train.
Right.
Go ahead.
So you deal a lot with that when it comes to money and other people that are out there doing the same thing as you. I get a lot of people that ask me where. And if they're out doing the legwork like I am, and I see them, and we're communicating, and it's friends, it's not so much business, it's just friendship. I might say, hey, they have those over there, But when somebody tells me that, I had this conversation a month ago with a guy, he was like, oh, I've been lazy, man. I haven't gone anywhere this week. But where did you get those? And I'm like, dude, I drove 300 miles in 2 days so far. Where did I get them? They're sitting out there. I'll just tell you that. But then I'm a dick, right? Because I won't just give someone a handout.
Even though he was just saying, oh, hey, I've been lazy.
Straight up. So usually those certain people that are always, they kind of filter themselves out of my life, or eventually I don't have any more communication with them, because at the end of the day, a magician doesn't reveal his secrets. And that's what I have to tell people. Dude, I can't tell you how I do all this.
And nor should you.
There's a lot of people that I have experienced that think they're entitled. And I didn't come from an entitled life. I work for what I have.
Yeah.
And work isn't always easy.
Nope. You give them the information, man. They're just going to try to cut you out of the deal.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
Exactly. So, excuse me. But yeah, most people that have known me, any aspect of my life, sneakers and skateboarding, period. And they couldn't see me doing any other thing else, So I'm grateful, man. Really grateful. And I got a meeting with a guy tomorrow about some stuff in the works, which I won't reveal. But
come on, man. Tell us.
Yeah, just keep an eye on my Instagram. I got to plug myself, right?
I want you guys to plug yourself.
At Chris UnSoled.
Yeah. For sure. First, I want to say thank you guys for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you for having us and everything.
Yeah, there's a lot of information. It was actually much more information than I even knew about on the SneakerHead side. And I want you guys. Yeah, is that the best way for people to get a hold of you, through your Instagrams?
Yeah.
Through Instagram, yeah. I mean, you said yours.
Yeah, for me.
So Chris UnSoled.
Yep, at Chris_UnSoled.
Can you pull that up real quick so people can see it? And then, what's your Instagram?
Zlee Kicks. So ZLEEKIZKZ. Zlee Kicks. Yeah.
So they just message you on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like all the stuff, comment everything, fire. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm learning about that stuff since we started this podcast.
Yeah.
We're starting to, post things. I knew about YouTube, but on Spotify, but
Sure.
I don't know about it. Like, I'm learning about Instagram and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you for
did you get
having
that?
me.
I got it. I spelled sold wrong. You know what I'm saying? We'll also link this stuff in the video below so that everybody could see it.
Yep, there's young him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's from
that was me back in my store. Yeah, at an interview.
That was the Denver Post, wasn't it?
That was, I can't remember the name of the paper, but yeah, it was a newspaper article that wound up being the cover story somehow or another.
Yeah, that's your
so
store
that was
right there.
kind of cool. Yep.
Can you click on that picture of the store?
This one?
Yeah, because that's the store. Oh,
you gotta log in.
I can see it. We can see it.
Or you can see.
Not a big deal. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Zooming in.
Yeah, see, you can see off to the right. There's a pair of original Jordan 1s. Those were all mine, all personal pairs. That very top shoe is a sample. It's Jeremy Fish Nike Classic. It had a raised felt embroidery, kind of floral-esque pattern on it. And a friend in Baltimore put me in contact with a guy in Delaware who found those at an outlet in Delaware. And samples there can be less than 50 pair of each. Says, hey, man, yeah, I don't want them. I heard about you. I heard about your collection, and you have a shop. Are you interested? And I was like, hell, fuck yeah, I want those, dude. And I think I paid retail for that shoe. Nowadays, that would be worth some crazy money. Yeah. You know, being that limited. Some brand new pairs that aren't samples of that shoe I've seen at different times of upwards to $2,000.
Wow.
$2,000 a pair. Yeah. And I don't know what happened to them because that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, you wore them and you
Yeah.
sold them and
Yeah.
whatever. So yeah, if anybody wants to get a hold of you guys, you heard their Instagram. Do they call that a link? What do they call that? Instagram
URL,
Your
username,
username. Is that what they
Username.
call
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Handle.
Yep.
Sorry,
handle, huh?
Handle.
I'm
yeah.
trying to get with it, man. I'm still out of the loop.
No, you're good.
But yeah, hit you guys up where they can just message you guys an order like, hey man, can you get these?
For sure.
There you go.
Yeah. Or just, share your story about a shoe. Whatever it is, because I love hearing that stuff too. I really do.
Kingsley doesn't care. He just wants to make a sale.
That's it.
I have shoes that are meaningful to me.
No, I mean, you don't want to hear people's stories. You just want them to buy stuff. It's okay, man.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I don't know. Huh? I mean, yeah. Well, it's because it's not me that has the shoe, It's not like benefiting
He's a
me
businessman.
That's
He's
right.
a pure
Yeah.
businessman.
He's got to make that money, man.
If it make you feel good just to listen to you, I guess.
Are you going to buy this shoe, though, after I listen to your story? Well, right on, guys.
Yes, sir.
Man, it's been great, man. Thank you for coming
Absolutely.
on, man. This
Thank
was
you.
Absolutely.
a great podcast. And
Yeah.
I'm so happy you guys came on. This turned
Heck
out
yeah.
really good.
Yeah, thanks for having me and let me share a little of my story.
Great story.
Yeah,
I loved
appreciate
it.
it.
I loved it. Thank you, Kingsley, for
Thank
coming, giving that young perspective. And yeah, man. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Thanks, guys.